Welcome back, children. Next, move on to the next topic, that is cost. Now we have to discuss about supply, productivity, cost and revenue in this topic, in this chapter, and we have finished discussing the product. The next topic that we are going to learn is cost. Different types of cost and its meaning. Now, what is meant by cost? Cost is the actual expense incurred on producing a commodity. Now, for producing any commodity, the producer will have to incur different types of cost. So, the cost refers to the total expense which is bared by the producer in producing a commodity. The producer has to hire the land, the producer has to buy the machines, the producer has to purchase raw materials, the producer has to pay wages to the laborers. So, all these are the total expense incurred in the production of a commodity. So, the cost refers to the actual expense incurred on producing a commodity. Now, there are different types of cost. The important ones that we have to learn in your syllabus is, first one is explicit cost. Explicit and implicit cost comes together. So, we need to know what is explicit cost and what is implicit cost. What is explicit cost? Explicit cost is the actual money expenditure on inputs or payment made to the outsiders for hiring their factor services, payment of raw materials. So, what is meant by explicit cost? Explicit cost means the cost which we give for the service provided by the outsiders. The actual money expense we pay for the outsiders for the supply of their service. For example, if a producer wants to buy raw materials, he will be buying the raw materials by paying for it. So, he is getting the raw materials from outside. So, for that he is paying for that. That kind of a cost is known as explicit cost. Now, for example, laborers, he is hiring the laborers from outside and he is paying wages to the laborers. So, that kind of a cost also comes under explicit cost. Now, the next one is implicit cost. What is meant by implicit cost? It is the estimated value of inputs supplied by the owners. For example, rent of own land, salary of the entrepreneur for his own service. Entrepreneur means producer. Now, the best example to explain this implicit cost is, for example, a doctor who is running his own clinic. He is the person who does the work of the receptionist. He is the person and he is running his hospital in his own land. He is the one who is giving the service, everything, medicines. He is the one who is giving the medicine to the patients. So, all the work is done by himself and it is his own land in which he is running the clinic. So, he is doing the work by his own and he is not hiring any services from outside. But a cost is involved in that, isn't it? The rent of his own land. Now, the salary which is received by him for the work which is done by himself, but it has to be included as a cost, and that cost comes as implicit cost. So, implicit cost refers to the estimated value of inputs supplied by the owners himself. For example, rent of the own land, salary of the entrepreneur, doctor for his own services. That kind of a cost is known as implicit cost. So, in economics we calculate implicit cost. The next one is opportunity cost. What is meant by opportunity cost? You have learned this in the first chapter of microeconomics in the introduction, in the chapter introduction. What is opportunity cost? You can recollect it. It is the cost of next best alternative forgone. Now, for example, a farmer who has to produce the two components, food grains in his farm, that is, one is wheat and the other one is rice. Now, he has decided to produce certain amount of rice and certain amount of wheat in his farm. But at last, he has changed his decision to produce only wheat in his farm. That means he is sacrificing the cultivation of rice over there. Therefore, no cost is involved in the production of rice. Only the cost is involved for the production of wheat. Therefore, opportunity cost is the cost of next best. Which is the next best? The cost of rice forgone. Only the cost of wheat he has to take into consideration. So what is opportunity cost? The cost of next best alternative forgone. Now we will move on to the next one, that is short run cost. So we will be learning about the short run cost again. So first is the general one, that is explicit, implicit cost, opportunity cost, etc. Along with these there are many other types of costs such as real cost, private cost, social cost, etc., which is given in the power booster in your textbook, and that is for general reading. Now we will move on to the short run cost. Now when I speak to you about the short run cost, what should come to your mind? In short run, there are two factors, one is fixed factor and the other one is variable factor. So the cost of fixed factors and cost of variable factors both are coming under short run cost. So when we discuss about short run cost, what all things should come there? Fixed cost as well as variable cost, because we have learned in short run there are fixed factors as well as variable factors. We have learned that some factors will be fixed and some factors will be variable. So cost of the fixed factors is fixed cost and cost of variable factors is variable cost. But in long run, all the factors will be variable. Therefore, only variable cost will be there in the long run. But we are not learning the long run, we are learning short run. So as in the short run, there are some fixed factors and variable factors. There will be cost of fixed factors and there will be cost of variable factors. So there are two types of cost which we have to learn in short run. One is fixed cost and the other one is variable cost. Now the two types of cost, fixed cost and variable cost, we have to learn in short run, because in short run there are two types of cost, fixed cost and variable cost, because some factors will be fixed in short run and some factors will be variable in the short run. Now the sum of these two costs, fixed cost and the variable cost, they are known as total cost. The initial definition of the cost which I explained to you. What was the initial definition which I have given for the cost? The total money expense incurred by a producer in his firm is known as the cost. That cost is total cost. I told you the producer has to buy machines. Machine is a fixed cost. Producer has to buy land. That is a fixed cost. Producer has to purchase raw materials, that is a variable cost. The producer has to hire the labor from outside, that is also a variable cost. So it is a combination of both fixed cost and variable cost. Which is a fixed cost here? Cost on machines and land. Which is a variable cost here? The cost on labor and raw materials. So a combination of both fixed cost and variable cost is here. That combination or the totality of both fixed cost and the variable cost is known as total cost. So we can say fixed cost plus the variable cost gives you the total cost, total money expense incurred by a producer in his firm. Now we have to discuss in detail regarding what is a total fixed cost and what is a total variable cost, and by adding the total fixed cost and the total variable cost, we will be getting the total cost. What is the relationship between total fixed cost, total variable cost and total cost? Now let us see that. What is meant by total fixed cost? By the time you will be able to define the total fixed cost. The cost which do not vary directly with the level of output is known as the total fixed cost. For example, I told you, if you want to increase the production of shirt from 150 numbers to 170, you can increase it by increasing the number of labors. You need not increase the number of machines, or you need not find out any other building or land to construct the building to increase just 20 numbers of shirts, isn't it? So that kind of a cost is known as the total fixed cost. So total fixed cost are the cost of fixed factors like machines, buildings, etc. So they remains to be the same. Even if the output has to be increased from 150 to 170, machines, land and building remains to be the same. We need to change only the variable factors. So the cost of fixed factors in a factory is known as, in a firm is known as, or in the production process is known as total fixed cost. So what all things comes under total fixed cost? Cost of machines, cost of buildings, then cost of land, all these are not going to change for the time being in the short run. They remains to be fixed. Now, total fixed cost can be explained with the help of a simple example. Output, I have given it as one side of the table, and on the other side it is total fixed cost. Now, 0 level of output, then first level of output, second level of output, third level of output, output level is increasing. Here output can be assumed as number of shirts. Production of shirt is going on increasing, but total fixed cost will remain to be the same for a particular time period. That is what I told you. From 150 shirt, if the production is increased from 150 to 155, 157, 160, 165, 170 till a particular level, the fixed factor will remain to be constant. We need to increase the production only by increasing the variable factor. Beyond that, it is not possible. That is in the long run. But we are not discussing the long run now. We are discussing the short run. Okay. Now, we can find at 0 level of output, what is the total fixed cost? 12. At first level of output, total fixed cost is 12. Second level of output, 12. Third, 12. Fourth level of output, 12. Fifth level of output also it is 12, because their cost remains to be fixed. It will not change. But one thing you have to note here, even at 0 level of output, there is a total fixed cost. How come? Now, even before producing something, there will be building, land for a producer. For a producer, just to start a business, even before producing something, there will be a building in his land, there will be machine in his land, in his firm. So, even before producing something, even if nothing is produced, there will be a fixed cost. That fixed cost is his investment, right? There will be machines before production, he will be purchasing a land, he will be constructing a building, and he will be purchasing machines inside the firm. Even before producing something, all these costs will be there. Therefore, we can say even before producing, that means at 0 level of output also there will be a total fixed cost. That is why I have written it as 012. So, what is the reason behind 012? Even at 0 level of output, there is a total fixed cost. How? Because even before producing anything, anyway the producers will have to hire the land, the producer will have to construct a building, a producer will have to purchase the machines. All these are cost. So, even before producing anything, these components will be there in the firm. So, that is an investment. So, that comes under the total fixed cost. So, at 0 level of output, there will be total fixed cost. So, even before producing anything, there will be a total fixed cost. Now, from 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 3, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, for all these levels of output, total fixed cost remains to be the same as 12. Now, based on these values, if you draw a diagram, if you draw a figure, you can see even at first level of output or second level of output or third level or fourth level or fifth level or sixth level of output, your total fixed cost remains to be at 12. So, therefore, what is the conclusion? Total fixed cost is the straight line which is parallel to the x-axis. What is the reason behind that? It can be asked as a give reason question. Total fixed cost is a straight line parallel to the x-axis. Why? Because it remains to be the same at all levels of output and it starts from the origin. Why it starts from the origin? Because even without producing anything, there is a total fixed cost which is the initial investment, and that should be your answer for the question. Okay. Now, we will move on to the next type of cost, that is total variable cost. I told you by adding total variable cost and total fixed cost, you will be getting the total cost. So, we finished discussing total fixed cost and the next one is total variable cost. What is this total variable cost? So, from the name itself it is clear, isn't it? Total variable cost is that type of cost which varies with the level of output. They varies with the level of output. If the number of shirts has to be increased from 150 to 170, number of laborers should be increased from 20 to 22, or the raw materials have to be increased from 50 kilograms of cotton to some other amount. I am just giving an example. It is not an exact measurement. I am just giving an example. But fixed factor need not change. They remains to be constant. But for increasing the number of shirts from 150 to 170, that much raw material and number of laborers has to be increased. So, the cost which varies with the level of output is known as the total variable cost. So, total variable cost is the cost which vary directly with the level of output. Example, cost of raw materials, labor, etc. Even electricity, that is also the consumption of more and more electricity. If overtime work has to be done, electricity will be used more, isn't it? So, all these comes under that. Now, we can explain this total variable cost with the help of a table. Now, look at the table. Output is 0. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number of output is increased. Now, total variable cost you can find at 0 level of output. If nothing is produced, will there be any variable cost? No. Therefore, another point which you have to keep in mind is at 0 level of output, total variable cost is 0. Okay. So, once again I repeat, at 0 level of output, TFC is a particular amount, in our example 12, but at 0 level of output TVC is 0, because without producing anything there won't be any total variable cost. Now, at first level of output, total variable cost is 6, second level 10, third level is 15, fourth level is 24, fifth level is 35. You can see that in the initial stages, total variable cost is only increasing at a decreasing rate from 0 to 6, 6 to 10, then again 10 to 15, then 15 to 24, then from 24 to 35. That increasing rate of the variable cost is increasing when after a particular stage. But in the initial stage you can find the total variable cost is increasing only at a decreasing rate. Why is it so? Because the producer has just started his business in the initial stage. Once he gets the market, he will try to increase his production. The demand for the product increases. Therefore, when output increases, his variable cost also increases. That is the reason behind that. So, once again, initially when the product is being launched in the market, it takes time in order to get its recognition. Therefore, initially the cost of production will be maintained at a decreasing rate. But after that, when the output increases, the cost will be increased because of capturing the market. So, total variable cost initially increases at a decreasing rate and then increases at an increasing rate, and that is clearly evident from this table. See, from 0 to 6, 6 to 10, then from 10 to 15, then 15 to 24, then 24 to 35. So, after this we can find total variable cost is increasing at an increasing rate. From 0 to 6 to 10 and on, it is increasing only at a decreasing rate. Now, based on this table, if you are drawing a curve, you can find this is a curve which I have drawn for total variable cost based on this table. You can find a curve which is upward sloping, because when output is increasing, total variable cost is also increasing. Both the variables are moving in a same direction, and I have told you, if two variables are moving in a same direction, you will get an upward sloping curve, isn't it? When two variables are moving in a same direction, here output is also increasing, total variable cost is also increasing. So, when the two components or two variables are moving in the same direction, you will be getting an upward sloping curve. So, TVC or total variable cost curve is an upward sloping curve. It is an upward sloping curve. It is an upward sloping curve, and it is inverse S shaped. It is inverse S shaped. It is an inverse S shaped curve. Why? Because, why did we get this shape? Because we have drawn this curve on the basis of the table. What is the peculiarity of the table? In the table, the values are increasing at a decreasing rate, then increasing at an increasing rate. So, we can say the total variable cost is an inverse S-shaped curve because it initially increases at a decreasing rate and then increases at an increasing rate. Okay, I hope this is very clear to you. So, the total variable cost has an inverse S-shaped curve because it is initially increasing at a decreasing rate and then it is increasing at an increasing rate. Now, you can relate the shape of the total variable cost to the law of variable proportion. We can say different phases are there in the law of variable proportion. So, the shape of the total variable cost reflects the law of variable proportion. Now, one other thing is TVC is 0 at 0 level of output. Now, this is all about the total variable cost. So, total variable cost always varies with the level of output. It is an upward sloping curve because when the output increases, cost also increases, and it is an inverse S-shaped curve reflecting the law of variable proportion because it increases initially at a decreasing rate and then increases at an increasing rate. It reflects the different phases of the law of variable proportion. Now, we will move on to the third type of cost, that is total cost. And I told you we get the total cost by adding total fixed cost and total variable cost. Now, I have taken the two tables together to find out the total cost. Okay, at 0 level of output, total cost is fixed cost is 12, and that is 12, 12, 12 throughout, and total variable cost just now we discussed, that is 0, 6, 10, 15, 24, 35. When we add these two together, you will be getting the total cost. 12 plus 0, 12, 12 plus 6, 18, 12 plus 10, 22, 12 plus 15, 27, 12 plus 24, 36, 12 plus 35, 47. So, when you add the total fixed cost and total variable cost, you will be getting the total cost. Now, look at the table. We can study the relationship between TVC, TFC and TC. Now, the relationship TFC is parallel to the x-axis. We have clearly seen in the diagram TFC is parallel to the x-axis. Why is this TFC parallel to the x-axis? TFC is parallel to the x-axis because it remains to be constant throughout the different levels of output. That is why it is parallel to the x-axis. Next one. TC and TVC are inversely S-shaped curve. That is, you can see output as 0, TFC as 12, and TVC will be first one as 0. So, when you add these two, you will be getting TC as 12. Now, come to the second part, that is first level of output. You can find TFC remains to be 12 itself, but TVC is 6. Okay, and when we add this TFC and TVC, you will be getting TC as 18. So, what should you understand from this? Any change in the TC is reflected only from a change in the TVC because TFC is always remaining to be constant. Therefore, any change in the TC will be reflected only by a change from TVC. So, how the TVC behaves, the same way the TC will also behave. That is why, as TVC is an inversely S-shaped curve, TC will also be definitely an inversely S-shaped curve. That is why in the second point, the explanation is given as TC and TVC are inversely S-shaped curve reflecting the phases of law of variable proportion, because any change in the TC, that depends only on the change of TVC because TFC remains to be constant every time. So, as TVC is an inverse S-shaped curve, TC will also be an inversely S-shaped curve. Next is at 0 level of output, TC is equal to TFC because there is no variable cost at 0 level of output. Once again, at 0 level of output, these two are equal. Which two? TFC and TC are equal because there is no variable cost at 0 level of output. Now, look at the table. At zero level of output, we can find both TFC and Tc are equal, but Tvc is 0. Why Tvc is 0? Because nothing is produced, therefore there won't be any cost. Now Tfc is there. What is that? Initial investment cost. I told you, even without producing anything, even before producing anything, there will be a machine and there will be building. That is the initial investment cost. That is the total fixed cost at zero level of output. And when the 12 total fixed cost is added to 0 total variable cost, you will get the total cost as 12. So in the initial stages, even without producing anything, you will have the total expense as 12 because there is a total fixed cost as 12. Okay. Now the next point is Tc and Tfc starts from the point of origin. Now you have drawn the diagrams of both Tfc and Tvc. Now here you can find Tfc starts from the value 12 and Tvc starts from 0. Now Tfc, Tvc. Tvc starts from the point of origin. Why Tvc starts from the point of origin? Tvc starts from the point of origin because at zero level of output Tvc is 0. But Tfc cannot start from the point of origin because at zero level of output there is a total fixed cost. So therefore we can say Tfc will start only from the particular value because at zero level of output there is a total fixed cost as 12. But whereas Tvc starts from the origin because at zero level of output the Tvc is 0. Now next one is any change in the Tc is entirely due to Tvc because Tfc is constant at all levels of output. Any change in our Tc, that happens only because of a change in the Tvc because Tfc remains to be constant. Now on the basis of the table which I have drawn here, I have represented it in the form of a figure where Tfc is parallel to the x-axis. It starts from the point 12. Tvc starts from the origin, which is an inverse S-shaped curve. Now Tc starts from this particular value 12. Why Tc starts from 12? Because in the table you know for the zero level of output Tc is equal to 12. Therefore we can say that at zero level of output Tc is equal to Tfc. Therefore both Tc as well as Tfc starts from the 12. Isn't it? Value 12. But whereas Tvc starts from the origin. Now both Tfc and Tc starts from this particular value and that is also an inverse S-shaped curve. I told you why it is inverse S-shaped curve because any change in the Tc is completely dependent on a change in the Tvc and they both reflect the law of variable proportion. And now we can find on the basis of the graph we can find, see, Tc and Tvc curves are parallel to each other. They are parallel to each other, isn't it? They are both inverse S-shaped curve and they are parallel to each other. And the vertical distance between them is Tfc. And the vertical distance between them is Tfc. Now you know that the equation is Tc is equal to Tfc plus Tvc. Therefore, Tfc is equal to Tvc minus Tc. That is what I told. The vertical distance between Tvc and Tc is Tfc. How did you get that particular point? Explanation to that point is Tc and Tvc curves are parallel to each other and the vertical distance between them, whom Tc and Tvc is Tfc. How will you prove that? With the equation Tc is equal to Tfc plus Tvc, we can prove that statement. If Tc is equal to Tfc plus Tvc, Tfc is equal to Tvc. When it comes this side, it is minus Tc. Therefore, vertical distance between Tvc and Tc is Tfc. We have proved it with the equation Tc is equal to Tfc plus Tvc. So that's all about the cost curve. We have learned about the types of cost: explicit, implicit cost, explicit hiring from outside, implicit on cost of production. Okay. Then comes opportunity cost, the cost of next best alternative sacrificed. Then we learned about the short run cost. Two types are there: total cost and total fixed cost. Total variable cost and total fixed cost. What is total fixed cost? The cost which remains to be the same at all levels of output. And what is the peculiarity of total fixed cost curve? It will be parallel to the x-axis and it starts from the value 12, because at 0 level of output there is a total fixed cost. Now total variable cost, it changes with every levels of output. It is an inverse S-shaped curve. It is an upward sloping curve, because when the cost increase, when the output increases, total variable cost also increases. What is the behavior of total variable cost? It increases at a decreasing rate initially and then increases at an increasing rate. Then when we add these two types of cost together, you will be getting the total cost. Total cost is also inverse S-shaped curve reflecting the law of variable proportion, and any change in the total cost is reflected only by a change in the total variable cost, because total fixed cost remains to be constant at any time. And the total cost also starts from the value 12, because at 0 level there is a total cost, because there is presence of total fixed cost. So all these are the features that you have to learn. And regarding the relationship between the total fixed cost, variable cost and total cost, both total variable cost and total cost are parallel to each other, and the vertical distance between these two is Tfc. How will you prove that? With the equation Tc is equal to Tfc plus Tvc. From that, if you find Tfc, Tfc is equal to Tvc minus Tc. That is why we say the vertical distance between the Tvc and Tc is Tfc. So I hope it is very clear to you. Learn the tables, the values, and learn how to draw the diagram. Thank you.